What's up? What's up? Welcome to Mind Your Hormones, or welcome back to Mind Your Hormones. I'm so excited for our conversation today. We are doing a little Q&A. So I like to do these once in a while because I really want to answer the questions that you are currently having, because obviously we're in community. I want to be able to support you with wherever you're at in your journey. So I went on Instagram. If we're not already connected over there, come hang out at Corinne Angelica. I'm always on my stories posting content, like really serving a ton over there too. But I put up a Q&A box. I'm like, what do you want to hear next on the podcast? I got some feedback. So I took 2 of those questions and we are putting it into an episode today. And I'm really excited about it because I know there's probably so many of you that have similar questions. So let's get into it. So the first question that was asked is, how do you know if you're not getting a period from HA, which is hypothalamic amenorrhea, which if you're like, Corinne, what the hell is that? I'll talk to you about it in a second. So how do you know that you're not getting a period from HA, hypothalamic amenorrhea, or that it's a hormone imbalance? So I want to just start by saying that hypothalamic amenorrhea is a hormone imbalance. A hormone imbalance just means that one of your hormones, it could start with one hormone like estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, LH, FSH, like TSH, whatever hormone, right? It just means that one of them, it starts usually with one, but it then leads to many because it's a domino effect, is just not at the optimal level. You either have too much or too little of a hormone. That's what a hormone imbalance is. So if there's anything going on with your period at all, it is a hormone imbalance, whether it's hypothalamic amenorrhea, PCOS, endometriosis, whether it's not a diagnosis like that and you are just having, not just, but if you're having mood swings or PMS or really heavy periods or really light periods, like whatever it is, that is a hormone imbalance, because it means that there is a hormone level that's not at their optimal range, that it's too high or too low, that's causing you to experience these symptoms. So it is a hormone imbalance no matter what it is. I have a whole free training called Symptoms and Signs of Hormonal Imbalances, the Root Causes, and How to Start Healing. If you are someone who's like curious about this, like I actually don't know what signs that I'm experiencing, what symptoms I'm experiencing. Are they hormone imbalances? Like what are they? You could check the link in the bio. You could check the link in the show notes for this free training that I have, and it's going to go into it because it's not just signs that are surrounding your period. Obviously, not getting a period, having a regular period, painful, all those things. Yes, those are of course signs of hormone imbalances, but there's a lot of other things too, like skin issues, digestive issues, headaches, like stuff like that. So anyway, you could check that free training out. But to start this answer off, HA, hypothalamic amenorrhea, is a hormone imbalance in and of itself. Now, if you don't know what hypothalamic amenorrhea is when you don't have a period, okay? It's the lack of a menstrual period for 6 months, but it's a lack of this period for 6 months with no other medical diagnosis that could be found. So like meaning that your doctor did not diagnose you with PCOS, with a thyroid disease, with high prolactin, with celiac, with anything like that. It's like they've tested you for all these things. None of that is coming back that you have it, but you're still not getting a period. That's when you get the hypothalamic amenorrhea diagnosis. Now, there is a caveat to this because I was someone that was not regularly getting a period. Again, I went 2 full years without a period, and I was diagnosed without PCOS. But the reason for that was because the doctor that was reading my blood work was looking at the normal levels, not the optimal ranges. So this could be like, you got tested for PCOS and they said that your levels were fine, but they're really not. So maybe you do have that and it's not hypothalamic amenorrhea. Like that could be what could show up. I have a whole training in the Mind Your Hormones method on how to actually be diagnosed with PCOS, but just like really quickly, since we're talking about it, there's 3 criteria to be diagnosed with PCOS. You have to have 2 out of these 3. You have to have anovulatory cycles, meaning you're not regularly ovulating. You have to have cysts on your ovaries, or you have to have high androgen levels, meaning high male hormones like testosterone or DHEA on your blood work. Now, again, those levels, just because they come back normal doesn't mean they're optimal. So you only have to have 2 out of those 3 criteria. So anyway, that's what hypothalamic amenorrhea actually is. It's when you are not getting a period for 6 months, but you have no medical diagnosis of any other condition. Now, if this is happening to you, if you are someone who's not getting a period and you're like, I don't have thyroid disease, I don't have any of this, whatever, you think it's hypothalamic amenorrhea, or you're like, Corinne, I don't know which one it is. Doesn't matter. This is going to support you either way. Okay. That's what I always like to come back to is like, yes, of course we want to get a diagnosis. Of course we want to know what's going on. We want to know if it's PCOS, if it's your thyroid, like what is it? But at the end of the day, your body needs what your body needs. Your body needs to be in a state of healing. Your body has to have balanced blood sugar. You need to have proper nutrients. You need to have low inflammation. You need to make sure your gut and your liver are working properly. Like when those things are working optimally, it does not matter what hormone is out of place. And I will say this over and over and over and over again, because it is the truth. And we could get so bogged down and so wrapped up in trying to figure out, well, what hormone is it? This is out of whack. So this is what's going on. So what do I have to do to treat this exact hormone? And it's like, you can't spot treat like that. Just get down to the root cause, heal those major issues, and the majority will heal itself. And then from there, we could look and we can try and refine things. But this is why I'm so passionate about the Mind Your Hormones method. And I will continuously talk about it, because if you don't have these major root causes, these major processes in your body functioning optimally, then we can't go any further than that. It has to start with that. And the majority of your issues are going to go away just from doing that. And then if there's any little tweaks we can make, we could do it, but it has to come down first to your blood sugar, your nervous system, your nutrient deficiencies, your gut, your liver, your inflammation. Like that has to come down to it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, Corinne, I don't have a period, or it's irregular or whatever, but I don't know what it's coming from, it doesn't matter. Okay. That like, not to say it doesn't matter, but it also doesn't matter. You don't have to be stuck on that. You could do things no matter what your issue is. That's going to help heal it. Okay. So anyway, that is hypothalamic amenorrhea. But if this is happening to you, and you're not getting a period because you came off the pill, that's something different also. So if you are someone who's like, I haven't gotten a period since I stopped birth control 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, whatever it is, it could be because of that. And it might be, I mean, it could be hypothalamic amenorrhea, but the point is that it could be that your body just is not responding post-birth control because you didn't properly support yourself coming off, because you didn't know how to, and you didn't do damage control post coming off of it. I have a ton of other podcast episodes on birth control, so you could check those out if this is you, because that could be something that causes it as well. A lot of people who do come off birth control and don't properly support themselves before stopping, because they were never told to, experience this. So it depends on what your starting point is. But if you are someone who recently came off birth control and this is an issue you're experiencing, go check out the other birth control episodes I have. Of course, obviously something we cover in the Mind Your Hormones method, but just from a podcast standpoint, you can go check out those episodes. Okay. All right. So that is that. Now, to understand hypothalamic amenorrhea in general, your hypothalamus is your master hormone command center. This is like the queen of the castle. This command center is what's letting every other hormone in your body. It's what's releasing hormones or not releasing them. It's what's telling everybody, like, here's what we're doing, here's what we're not doing. Like, she is the queen of the castle. Okay. Your hypothalamus is the master hormonal control center. This is what decides if it's safe or not safe, or supportive or not supportive for you to ovulate. So if you're not ovulating, it really goes back to the hypothalamus, who's like, nope, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And they could be deciding that it's not allowing you to ovulate because you have too much stress going on, because you're not getting proper amount of nutrients, because you're not eating enough or eating properly or eating in a blood sugar balanced way, or just eating enough food in general based on your activity levels. It doesn't think it's safe for you to have a baby. That's really what it comes back down to. And if you're like, Corinne, I don't want to have a baby, I hear you. I used to be in that position too when I wasn't getting a period. But your hypothalamus views getting a period and having a baby and like getting pregnant the exact same. Being healthy enough to have a baby and being healthy enough to have a period are the exact same according to your command center, according to your hypothalamus. It does not see a difference. If it doesn't think that you're healthy enough to have a baby, it doesn't think you're healthy enough to ovulate, which means you're not going to get a period. So it's all the same. Whether you want to have a baby or not, it doesn't matter. You have to be in that, healthy state where your body thinks it's safe enough for you to do so. Okay. So under eating is one of a major reason of people not ovulating, having hypothalamic amenorrhea specifically. And you don't have to necessarily be underweight to be under eating. This is a big thing. People are like, well, I'm not underweight. I'm a good body weight. Like I've got all this, like I eat. But if you are not eating enough based off of your activity levels, if you're not having enough micro and macronutrients like protein, fat, healthy fats, carbohydrates, if you are not having enough carbohydrates, that's a major reason why you're not ovulating. Zinc, iodine, like these are things that your body actually needs to ovulate. If that's not happening, then you're technically under eating. Even if you're at a quote unquote healthy weight, you don't necessarily have to be underweight. It's about what you're eating and having like enough amount of food with properly pairing it together for blood sugar balance to keep up with your activity level. That is huge. So it's really about, for hypothalamic amenorrhea, under eating and over exercising are two of the major things, which could really be boiled down to stress on the body as well, and nutrient deficiencies. So these are, again, goes back to your nervous system and nutrient deficiencies for hypothalamic amenorrhea, two of the major root causes, 2 modules in the Mind Your Hormones method. So over exercising as well, based on what your body can handle and how you are or are not fueling yourself to support those activity levels, is another reason why you could not be ovulating and not getting your period. Over exercising looks different for every single person. For me, over exercising, what my body can personally handle, having healthy hormone levels, getting a period, being able to get pregnant, all of that is something that somebody else could easily handle and do more, but my body is my body. So I am not someone that can really do any type of cardio for long periods of time at all. Does not feel good to me. If I even do a bar class that's an hour long, if I do that too many times a week, my body's like, nope, or it's not happening. I've done it before and I know, and bars, it's an intense workout if you've ever done it. It's freaking hard, but it's not like running a marathon or anything like that, but that's how my body is. So you have to look at how you're eating and how you're exercising based on what your body can handle and how you are or are not fueling yourself. If you are someone who's not getting a period, or even just not, this would be the same too, but not ovulating regularly, not getting pregnant, whatever is actually going on. Okay. So we have to focus on your stress levels, your nutrient deficiencies. Those are 2 huge areas for hypothalamic amenorrhea. And it's not just about, because I know it can be so annoying to, you're like, okay, just eat more. Your doctor maybe have said that too. You just need to eat more and stop exercising. That's not what it is. We don't want to stop exercising, first of all, because our body needs to move. We want to be doing movements that are actually supportive to us. So maybe dropping down to doing long walks, doing yoga, doing Pilates, instead of doing things like maybe you're doing now that could be too much for your body right in this moment. Doesn't mean you can't eventually level up to that or fuel yourself properly to be able to do that. But we have to get your body in a state where it can trust you, where it could feel safe, and where your hypothalamus is like, okay, guys, we're good. We're ready to go. Fire it up. We're ready to ovulate. She's good. We're getting enough food. Again, it's not just about eating more, it's about eating more nutrient dense foods, also having proper supplementation and eating the foods in a blood sugar balancing way. Okay. Having a protein, a fiber, and a healthy fat at each meal. And also making sure you are having enough carbohydrates, like complex carbohydrates, quinoa, brown rice, even legumes have carbs in them, sweet potatoes, things like that. Okay. We want to make sure that we're having those. Because if not, this is something that will turn off your ovulation. Not having enough carbohydrates will 100% turn your ovulation off. Your hypothalamus is like, this is not happening. Okay. So be really, really honest with yourself about how you're exercising. If it's actually working for you, are you overexerting yourself from the perspective of also how you're fueling yourself? These are things that we have to look at. But I obviously know I went way more in detail than what the question was just asking. The question was just asking is if it's not getting a period from hypothalamic amenorrhea or from a hormone imbalance. Again, hypothalamic amenorrhea, HA, is a hormone imbalance. Technically, it means that you were diagnosed without any other diagnosis like PCOS, thyroid, hyperlactin, celiac, whatever it is. But it really comes down to your body deciding, your hypothalamus deciding it's not safe or supportive for you to ovulate. So, okay, what can we do to put our body in a state of feeling like it's safe to ovulate? Working on your nervous system and your stress levels, making sure you're eating enough nutrient-dense foods to make up for and to compensate for your activity levels. So that could be both eating more nutrient density and slowing down your workouts, really getting very clear and honest with yourself on where you're at with that, okay? So that is the first one that we are going to answer. Now, the second question that I got is, if I don't ovulate, well, actually, hold on. Let me give you some steps, because I'm like, I kind of just like flew through that. I'm going to give you 2 steps right now if this is you. Number one, what I want you to do is really look at your plate, how you are fueling yourself. Do you have a protein, fiber, and healthy fat on every single meal that you're eating, including a snack? Do you also have carbohydrates in your diet? Really looking at that. If not, how can you add in more quinoa? How, with like, with a, well, quinoa is protein as well, but you could add beans to that or whatever. How can you have maybe some more sweet potatoes with a meal? How, like, really looking at that as well, and making sure that, okay, actually, maybe I was under eating. Maybe I'm only really having I'm having just like a fruit or a vegetable smoothie in the morning, and then having like salad with grilled chicken for lunch. And then I'm just having, I don't know, like steak and veggies for dinner. Like, there's no carbohydrates. You're not having enough healthy fats. Like, really looking at those 2 areas and making sure that those are on point. And then secondly, looking at your exercise. Okay, how can I maybe slow down? How do I feel after an exercise? Do I feel depleted, or do I feel energized right after and 2 hours after? 1 to 2 hours after. We want to always feel energized after our movement, not depleted. And that could give us a real good indicator of if we are overexerting ourselves and if we are fueling ourselves properly after. Are you fueling yourself before your workout and after your workout? Or are you working out with pre-workout on an empty stomach, then working out, and then maybe just having like a little shit smoothie after that doesn't even have a healthy fat or protein or anything in it, and then it's not enough for your body, but you feel hungry, but you're like, oh, but I can't eat more because then I'm going to gain weight. Like, really looking at, what does this look like? Okay. And getting honest with yourself without thinking, oh, but I should be able to do this workout and I shouldn't have an issue. I should be able to eat this amount and I shouldn't have an issue because X, Y, and Z person does it. Like, we have to take that all off the table, get the noise out of there, focus on what is true for you. What are you experiencing in your body right now? If you are not getting a period, if it is irregular, it is for a reason, because there are pieces of these things that we're talking about that are out of place, that it's not just going to magically come back. Like, I remember thinking when I didn't have my period, I'm like, well, eventually it'll just come back. It's like, no, it's not eventually just going to come back unless you do something different for it to come back. Like, that's like, was just so my mindset. I'm like, well, eventually it's just going to come. Like, no, we have to actually do something different. Okay. So obviously check out the show notes for the Mind Your Hormones method. If you're like, you know what, Corinne, I have no freaking clue what I'm doing. I really just want a step-by-step guide on how to balance my freaking hormones out. Obviously check that out, because that's like, of course, where I would recommend for you to go, but also just think about these things that we're talking about in today's episode. Okay. Now let's move on to number 2. If I don't ovulate, how do I know when I enter my luteal phase? Ooh, I love this question. Okay, if I don't ovulate, how do I know I enter my luteal phase? If you're listening to this and you're not really sure what the phases are, we have 4 phases of our menstrual cycle. Your period, it's not just, that's it. It's not just like, okay, you have your period, you bleed, that's it. Like, that's what I thought it was, but it's not. There's 4 different phases because your hormones fluctuate throughout the month. So because your hormones are fluctuating and changing, they go through different phases, different stages throughout the month, throughout the actual cycle. So one phase is your menstrual phase, when you're actually bleeding. Then you move into your follicular phase, which is when your body is preparing to ovulate. Your follicles are growing, your energy is increasing, your estrogen, your testosterone levels are increasing. Like, this is what's happening in the follicular phase. Excuse me. And then I know what's happening. We're moving on. And then is your ovulation phase. And this is when hopefully you are ovulating. When a follicle bursts, the egg comes out, you ovulate. It could either be fertilized if you want to get pregnant, or not fertilized so you don't get pregnant. And then when you ovulate, you produce the hormone progesterone. And that is what creates the next phase, which is the luteal phase. And the luteal phase is the 10 to 14 days before you get your period. But you can only experience a luteal phase if you are ovulating. If you're not ovulating, you do not have a luteal phase. You technically do not have a complete menstrual cycle, because in order for the menstrual cycle, like in order for you to have a true cycle, you have to be going through every single phase, all 4 phases of the cycle. If you're not ovulating, that means you are not having a luteal phase. A luteal phase is characterized by having progesterone now present after ovulation. After you ovulate, the follicle bursts, the egg is released. If it gets fertilized, then okay, then you're going to have a baby. If it doesn't, Then you have the sac that was left over from the egg that was burst, right? So the follicle that had the egg in it, the follicle burst, the egg released. That leftover follicle turns into something called the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum is what produces progesterone. This is what signifies and what like dictates a luteal phase, because your luteal phase is when your body is producing progesterone from this leftover follicle that's now called the corpus luteum, that's producing progesterone. Okay, whether your egg was fertilized or not, this is what's happening. Because if you do get pregnant, it's just going to continuously be producing progesterone over and over and over and over to hold on to that pregnancy. If not, you're going to produce that progesterone for 10 to 14 days, at least 10 days minimum. If it's less than that, then you either did not really have strong ovulation or you didn't ovulate. You have to check that out. Obviously, by tracking, episode 123 teaches you how to do that. And then you get your period, okay? But if you're not ovulating, you are not having a luteal phase. So technically what's happening is if you're not ovulating, you're just in one long follicular phase. You're just in the phase of like something's going on, your hormones are trying to possibly ovulate, or you're not getting what you need to actually ovulate. So you're not going through a luteal phase, you're not going through the ovulation phase, you're not going through the menstrual phase, you're pretty much just in a long follicular phase. So if this is you and you're not ovulating, a lot of people will get caught up in like wanting to, sync their life to their cycle, which I love. I did that for so long. And I know it's one of the reasons why I'm able to listen to my body so much in pregnancy, because when you do have, all these 4 phases, when you are ovulating, you're going through all the phases of your cycle, you feel the different shifts of each phase, you're really able to tap into how your body changes throughout the month and how you can listen to it accordingly. But if you're not ovulating, that's not happening. So, and people get all wrapped up in trying to, eat differently and work out differently in every single phase of your cycle, which is amazing and so important if you actually are having a full cycle. But if you're not ovulating, don't even freaking worry about the phases, because you're not even in the phases. Also, if you're on hormonal birth control, you are not ovulating. You do not have all these phases. If you're on the IUD, you could possibly be ovulating, depending on, the person. It doesn't aim to turn off your ovulation, but a lot of times it does. The only way to confirm if you're ovulating is to track it. Again, check out episode 123 for more information on that, of how to do it. But if you are not ovulating, you are not having a luteal phase. So your main focus needs to be on, okay, why am I not ovulating? What's happening? Am I overextending myself? Am I over exercising? Am I under eating? Do I not have enough nutrients in my body? Do I have too much inflammation? Is my blood sugar dysregulated? Is my gut jacked up? Is my liver not able to properly process hormones out of my body? These are the things, again, the 5 freaking major root causes that I'm always going to go back to. Yes, Corinne, I am a broken record for a reason, because it works. And this is what has to be in place. Like, there's a reason why I'm talking about it all the time. But that's what you need to focus on. Focus on ovulation. Don't worry about, okay, well, should I shift my workout, whatever, because you're not having those phases, okay? So a menstrual cycle is when you go through all the phases. You do not have a luteal phase when you don't ovulate, okay? And just because you're bleeding also does not mean that you're ovulating. A lot of people will bleed and think that, oh, okay, cool, like I must have ovulated, whatever, this is my period. But a bleed could just mean that you produce enough estrogen where now your uterine lining has to shed, but it does not mean that you ovulated and are producing progesterone. So that's why tracking is so important. Tracking using your basal body temperature, looking at your cervical mucus patterns. You could also check your cervical positioning. All this is talked about in episode 123, so you can go check it out. But really, I want you to always go back to, okay, if I'm not ovulating, why am I not ovulating? What is my hypothalamus, that command center, that queen of the castle? Why does she feel that my ovulation needs to be turned off right now? Why does she feel that it's not safe to have a baby right now? What is going on? And obviously the Mind Your Hormones method will support you in this. Obviously I'm here to help you with that, but you also have to be really radically honest with yourself. And a lot of times we have an intuitive feeling of maybe what it could be, but it's going to require us to do something that we don't actually want to do. And we don't want to have to make that change, whether that change is shifting your workouts or slowing them down or eating differently, eating more, and we're afraid to do that, or purchasing supplements or investing in a program, or like implementing that meditation that we've been like putting off, or going to sleep earlier. Like sometimes we intuitively know, like, okay, maybe it's this, but then we talk ourselves out of it. Like, no, it can't be that easy. Like, ugh, it's not just sleeping. Like, that's fine. I don't need to sleep that much. Or no, it's not the meditation. It's not the pre-workout on the empty stomach. Like, I'm doing everything else right. So like, it's not that. Like, we try and talk ourselves out of it, but really get in tune with your body, and like, whatever's coming up for you is coming up for a reason. And we need to listen to that, because there is a reason why you're not ovulating, and we have to just figure out what that reason is and then start healing it. And again, balancing your blood sugar, supporting your nervous system, your gut, your liver, your inflammation levels, your nutrient deficiencies. These are the things that must be in place, all of them. And then it will resolve everything else. And then we could always increase from there and always optimize from there. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please reach out to me on Instagram at Corinne Angelica. Let me know if this hit home with you, if you were, thinking about these questions too. I love knowing what's going on in your world. I want to know what is helpful for you, what episodes you vibe with, which ones you're like, I could have done without that. Or if you have an idea for an episode, a topic, or a specific question you want me to answer, please let me know. I love supporting you. I'm obsessed with this community. I love it so freaking much. I'm so grateful for you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or your night or wherever you're doing right now. And I will talk to you on the next episode.